Hello, boys and girls. Right now it's time for us to do a math lesson. So for math today, I wanted to review what we learned about last Thursday. So last Thursday, we talked about 10 more and 10 less, about how we can find numbers that if we have a number, we can find out how many are 10 more and how many are 10 less without like writing out and doing the subtraction and things like that. So I wanted to review that because that was a really tricky lesson and I want us to go over it. There's no worksheet for this lesson, but I did send a 100s chart. So if you were able to print it off, great. If not, that's okay. After we're done with the lesson, maybe you can take a look at it on the screen and just see, what we talk about with the hundreds chart. Okay? So if you have this, awesome. If not, that's okay. All right, so we'll look at that in a second. Okay, but I wanted to review what we went over. So we talked about having a two-digit number, like let's say 64. So if you have a two-digit number like 64, and then we want to see how many tens and ones there are. So with 64, how many tens are there? Let's count them and find out. So how many 10 rods? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so there's 6 10 rods, so 6 tens, and then how many ones? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 6 tens and 4 ones. 6 tens and 4 ones, boys and girls. Okay, good. We've been learning about this. We know what tens and ones are. We got this, right? So now the question is, what is 10 more? Well, in the classroom where we have our tens rods and ones units, we would add one tens rod, right? So we would then have something that looked like this. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tens rods, and 1, 2, 3, 4 ones still. We would just keep the same number of ones because we're looking at the tens. Okay, we're looking at the tens place right up here. We're not concerned with the ones will stay the same. All right, so now if we have 7 tens and 4 ones, what number do we have? 7 tens and 4 ones. Think of the number in your head and we'll see if you got it correct. The number is 74. 74 is 10 more than 64. So the way we can tell this, we can draw tens rods and ones units. That is very helpful. Or when we're in the classroom and have those in front of us, we can use those, which is very helpful. But we can also look at the number 64, the digits, and the number 74. We can look at them. Now, if we look at the tens place in 64, what digit is there? 6, okay? Now, if we want one more 10, so we're going up 1 10, so then the digit that is in the tens place should increase by 1. So that will give us a 7 in the tens place, or 74. Okay? Now that's kind of a tricky concept, for sure. So I want to show you how you can find 10 more or 10 less on a hundreds chart. All right, so take a look at this hundreds chart. Right here is the number 64. We were just looking at him, right? So with the number 64, again, we know 64 has 6 tens, 4 ones, and we're going to add 1 10, right? Now with the number 64, it's good that we know that because we're going to increase it by 1 10. But now as we look at our hundreds chart, how many numbers are in each row? If you look carefully, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 numbers in each row. So each of these rows equals 10. Okay, each of these rows is 10. There's 10 numbers in all. So if I want to know what's 10 more than 64, well, to do that, I can count on until I get, I can count on 10 numbers and see what number I land on, okay? So if I'm at 64, I'm going to count on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What number am I at? 74. Good. So that's a way to find 10 more or 10 less. It's a little bit of a slower way. So instead of counting 10, you know what I realized? Right before this, I was just talking about how each of these rows equals 10, right? And now that I look at 74, I see it's right below 64. So if I'm looking for 10 more of a number, then I've got to find that number on my hundreds chart. And to find 10 more, I just have to slide my finger down one number. And that will show me the number that is 10 more. Okay? So we start at 64, then we slide down our finger 10 more, and that gets us to 74. And we can know that that one is 10 more because it's just below 64 on the hundreds chart. Or if you're not sure, if you're like Miss Rabbito, I'm not quite sure if you're right about that, you can also double check and count on 10 and see what number you land on. Okay, so that's another way to find 10 more. Now let's talk about 10 less. So let's take a look. Go back to our old friend over here, 64. So now we're trying to find 10 less, not 10 more. So if we had our tens and ones, we would have 6 tens, 4 ones, and then to get 10 less, what would we need to do? Well, we would need to take away one of these 10 rods, okay? Because we're looking for 10 less. So we've got to take away, because it's like subtraction, you've got to take away one of the 10s. Okay, so let's take away one of these 10s. I'm just going to cross it off. Okay, so I took away this 10 right here. That's a little hard to see. There we go. So now let's see how many 10s we have. Not counting this one, because we took it away. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we have 5 10s and 1, 2, 3, 4, still 4 ones. Remember, the ones don't move. It's just the 10s that move for this lesson. So there are 5 10s and 4 ones. Well, what does 5 10s and 4 ones equal? I'm going to write it down. Think of your answer and we'll see if it's correct. I circled it so we know which one it is. 54. 54. So again, when we look at 64, what digit is in the tens place? Which is right here. What digit is in the tens place? 6. So now if we're doing 10 less, then this digit needs to decrease or go lower by 1. And 1 less than 6 equals 5. So since we took away a 10, the tens digit lowers by 1 and becomes 54. And the ones place doesn't change at all. We're just talking about tens. Okay? So let's go back to our hundreds chart and take a look there. All right. Here we go. So back to our hundreds chart. We're back at 64. Now for 64, remember we're going back 10. So it's 10 less. So if we say less, remember the number has to be smaller than our first number, okay? So 64, well, we know that if we want to find 10 more, we got to slide our finger down. So to find 10 less, you actually get to slide your finger up just 1 square. Slide your finger up just 1 square. That's where 54 is. And if you're not sure, we can always count back. Instead of counting on, since we're looking for a smaller number, we're going to count back. All right, so let's count back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we're there at 54. So 10 less than 64 equals 54. Okay, so that's a little trick that can help you figure out what's 10 more or 10 less. You can use your hundreds chart, and for 10 more, you start at your number, then you slide down to the next one, and then for 10 less, you start at your number and slide up to the one above it. And that shows you 10 more and 10 less very easily on a hundreds chart. Okay, so remember the whole concept behind 10 more, 10 less has to do with like our tens rods and our ones units and taking away a tens rod or adding a tens rod if you're trying to find more. So that's really what it looks like. And that can be a little bit confusing sometimes. So it is helpful to have another trick like with a hundreds chart. Okay, so some of you on Thursday were able to do it pretty simply, just like this. But this is for anyone who needed just a little bit of extra help with it. So what I want you to do now, you're going to take your hundreds chart, or if you don't have a hundreds chart, that's okay. You can either solve this by drawing tens and ones, or you can even just like look at a hundreds chart on the computer. But I want you to find, I'm going to circle some numbers on here. You're going to look at, let's see, how about the number 32, the number 70, the number 18, and the number 84. There we go. You're going to look at those numbers. So I have them circled right here. So you're going to look at those numbers, 18, 32, 70, 84. And you're going to figure out what is 10 more and 10 less of each of those numbers. Okay, so I recommend that you do what I just did and circle the numbers on your hundreds chart and use your hundreds chart to help you find the answer. Okay, it's also extra practice. Something that would be helpful is even just drawing out the tens and ones units for each of those numbers. That would also be helpful. So you can choose if you want to write the tens and ones as well as use the hundreds chart, or if you don't even need either of these and you just know in your head, oh, I just got to change the tens digit, that is good too. Okay, but you're going to just solve it for those. You do not have to write them down. We'll just go over these at school tomorrow, so I'll know if you actually like looked at the numbers and tried it. So I do want you to try it because we'll go over it tomorrow at school. All right, so boys and girls, that is for your math lesson. So like I said, no worksheet, just looking at those numbers on the hundreds chart. All right, boys and girls, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.